Welcome back to the Photography Masterclass. Today we're talking about sharpening your images. Now I want to preface this by saying sharpening is not a way to fix blurry images. It's just a way to enhance images that are a little soft but are mostly in focus. And again, you're not going to make a blurry or out of focus photo in focus. That's not what sharpening is about. It's just really getting down to the details and making it a little bit better. So we're going to skip some of these options for now and go down to this detail tab. Twirl it down by clicking the little triangle to the right. And I'm going to use this landscape. Now it might be a little bit hard for you to see here, but I can zoom in to this landscape photo and you can see that everything's not completely in focus. While it might be in focus, the lens might just have been a little bit dirty or it was a little hazy and things just aren't as sharp as I wish they were. And so we can fix that by using these sharpening tools. So under sharpening you have 4 different options: amount, radius, detail, and masking. And now this is going to get a little bit advanced in detail, but I hope literally in detail, but I hope this helps you and interests you, because it can really help improve your photos, especially landscapes, because as we've talked about, landscapes are best taken when everything's in focus, wide landscapes, I would say. I don't want to say every landscape is great when everything's in focus, but wide landscapes are great when everything's in focus, and sharpening can help that. So amount is basically how sharp do you want it, and it's just the general. If you increase it, things are going to get sharper. If you decrease it, it's going to get a little blurrier. And as you can see here, I'm sharpening it and it starts to look a little grainy. Basically what sharpening is doing, it's increasing the contrast between edges of 2 colors. So say for example we have this green tree lined up against this white and beige building. All of the pixels that are touching the colors between the greens and the other colors, by increasing the sharpening, it's actually increasing the contrast between those pixels. Now that's very in detail and probably doesn't make too much sense, but that's basically what it's doing. The detail is basically thinking about if the amount is just an overall paint job, if you're just painting over this, the radius is the size of the paintbrush. And so it's how far from the edge does the sharpening occur. So how many pixels? So it can go from 0.5 to 3. And as you increase, the pixels that are further away from the edges of things also get sharpened. So I can increase that. And it's always good to sort of go back and forth to see what you're doing from zoomed in to zoomed out. The detail slider is even a finer adjustment of those edges. So as I increase it, you can see things are becoming a little bit more contrasted, very slightly. So the darks in these green trees are getting a little bit darker. What masking does is it differentiates parts of your image that have lots of edges, so things like where these buildings are, from the sky that doesn't have lots of edges, because maybe we don't want the sky to be sharpened as much, because then you can really see this grain. So if I increase the masking, you'll notice that very slightly, I hope it's showing in the HD video of this tutorial, but trust me, the sky is becoming less grainy and sharpened basically, but the buildings down here are still looking very sharp. And that's what masking does. So if you have an object in your frame that you want sharpened, but the background is a sky or something that's not as important to be sharpened, then masking will really help you. So if I reset this and then undo, you can see a little bit from this image, but really if I zoom in, you get this sort of blurry image, and now it's a little bit sharp. So that is what sharpening is. Another way to increase or quickly sharpen your image is through clarity. So I'm resetting all those, and I go back up to these tabs. Under presence, you have this clarity, which basically sharpens, adds contrast, adds a little bit of saturation to your image, and it just makes things a little bit sharper. I can show you this more in detail with this photo right here. So this one's out of focus, and it's not going to be in focus ever again. So I can't fix it, but if I increase the clarity, you can see that things become a little bit, it tries to make it sharper. Things also become more contrasted, but it tries to make things sharp so things aren't as blurry as they were before. So clarity is a quick way to add a little bit of contrast to your image and just to make it a little bit better. So let's go to this image of our face, and if I increase the clarity a little bit, some people like it. It has a cool effect. Some people want, especially with portraits, to be a little bit softer, so maybe I would soften it up a bit. Quickly decrease the whites on my cheek. That's kind of like a Rembrandt lighting right there. I have this trapped triangle of light on my cheek, if you remember that from the lighting section. But anyways, clarity can go one of two ways, either blurring it a little bit, making images softer, or increasing the contrast and showing more detail. If you're editing pictures of people, you might want to make it a little bit less clear so that all the details of my sweaty face don't show up. Anyways, that is sharpening in Lightroom. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I know it was in-depth and a lot of information, but I think you can use it to your benefit. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next lesson.